Some of the views expressed on the Mormon Channel are solely for the education and inspiration of our audience and may not represent the official position of the Church.
We believe in God, the Eternal Father.
We believe in the Bible to be the Word of God.
We believe in being honest, true, chaste, benevolent, virtuous.
We believe that through the atonement of Christ, all mankind
We
will be
also
saved
believe the
by
Book of Mormon to be the Word of God.
We may say that we follow the admonition of Paul. We believe all things. We hope all things. We have endured many things.
You're listening to the Mormon Channel of The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Welcome to Why I Believe. My name's Rick Starr. We are in Arizona today with Why I Believe, and our guest today is Kurt Bailey, who owns a company here in Arizona, a video editing company. He's also a bishop, husband, and a father, and Kurt has the unique experience of also being in a wheelchair. He is what is technically called a T4 paraplegic from a skiing accident, and we will talk about that later in the program today. But Kurt, it is great to have you on Why I Believe today.
Well, thanks for having me.
I've known you when I lived here before and worked with you. You run a great company. You're an entrepreneur, and you're very busy, active in life. And you have a different situation than many in that you get around in a wheelchair, and that presents various challenges. You and I were talking about before the recording, various challenges of being a father, a husband, a bishop, all the things that you do, but you are active and you keep busy.
Absolutely. Try to do the best that I can.
That's awesome. Let's introduce you and talk about your upbringing. You were raised here in Arizona, right?
I feel like a native. We moved here when I was in 5th grade, just before my 5th grade year. My dad was in dental school, and we started out, I was born in Salt Lake City, but I was only there for 2 years. And then we moved up to the Portland, Oregon area so that he could go to dental school there. And then we did spend some time here in Arizona for 2 years down in the very southernmost part in Fort Huachuca, Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was 2 years there, and then we moved to Birmingham, Alabama for 2 years, where he did his internship at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And then we did eventually move here my 5th grade year. It would have been 77, right around there.
Okay.
So, good times.
Yeah. What is your background as far as your family? Are they your parents, grandparents, converts, Pioneer Heritage?
No.
What's your background?
They've been lifelong members of the church. My ancestry goes back to Brigham Young and John Taylor, and I love my family. I mean, they mean the world to me. They've done so much, not just my immediate family, but my grandparents and so on. They've just really paved a wonderful way for us to be and to exist right now. They live the gospel right, and it just makes me happy, and I guess maybe that P word, proud a little bit, to be a part of that heritage.
Which we know is okay to say from President Victor.
That's right, that's right.
In the right context, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. What things did your parents teach you that have helped you throughout your life?
Well, when we were up in Portland, I was 3 or 4 years old, and I was my dad had made a club for me. He'd cut off if I remember right, as a 9-iron. I'm going off of memory of the story that he tells me, because 3 or 4 years old, my memory's not that good. But as the story goes, we were at our apartment, and just kind of in the courtyard area there, and he took me out, and we were going to hit some balls. And so I threw my ball down and got onto it pretty good. And it went right into the lamp post that was there and broke the lamp. And so my dad, he said, well, we need to go and make sure that we are accountable for our actions here. So we went over to the manager's office, and he took me in there, and he wanted me to, let him know what happened, and so I did, and my dad kind of filled in the blanks there, and the manager said, "Well, is there anything else you need to tell me?" And I said, "Well, yeah. Why did you put the lamppost on our golf course?" so there was the extent of, just why did he do that? I mean, it was right in our way, and I wouldn't have hit it if it wasn't on our golf course. So that was the extent of my lesson in honesty and accountability, I guess.
Something else, Kurt, that you were involved in both before your accident and even after your accident is baseball. You come from a pretty big baseball family, don't you?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because right now we're baseball crazy, but back then we were the typical family who would do the little league scene, and that was about it. I mean, I wasn't carrying around a baseball encyclopedia with me or anything like that, but it was just a lot of fun. It was America's pastime. So when we lived in Fort Huachuca, I was on a t-ball team, and our team name was the Hank Aaron 715s. And that was just, it was really cool because obviously we were named that because that was when he broke the record. But it was just a lot of fun, and I don't remember doing a whole lot there. And I can tell you, I was the typical church athlete. I was never good enough to participate in sports in high school other than the golf team. But we played a lot. We played a lot of baseball, little league, and then as I got older and was going through the young men's program, we played softball. Our ward was very very much into the softball scene, and my dad was an excellent pitcher, and he actually played he played pitcher, and he also played third base. He went to All Church, I know once, and I want to say twice, when they were up in the old Gabriel Park ward up in Portland in dental school. They had a team that was fantastic. But so he passed on a lot of good advice and technique and everything to me, and so I worked hard and got to be a pretty good pitcher, and really enjoyed it. And we had some great opportunities here. This was back in the day when they actually played farther than just a stake tournament. And
I remember that day here in Arizona.
Yeah. The goal was to get to Prescott, right?
Yeah, it was Prescott, and there was Show Low, and there were all kinds of, in fact, I remember even flying up with somebody who owned a plane once.
Oh, yeah?
To a softball, church softball thing in Show Low.
Yeah.
So it was big, very big.
Yeah, so it was, we actually had the opportunity to go there once, and the way we got there was kind of unfortunate. We were playing in the championship game, and the team we were playing they were our rivals from our neighboring stake, and we were all friends. We knew each other on the team, and but it was very competitive. I mean, once you got between the lines, watch out. But there was a play. We were at bat, and our batter hit a pop fly into shallow left field. And their shortstop and their left fielder were both going after the ball. And there was a hefty collision, and both of them went down. And we couldn't continue the game, if I remember correctly, because it was just really bad. If I remember correctly, one of them did a number on his jaw, and actually, and I think that was Bobby Bentley and his mom. We're in the same ward now.
Oh, really?
And so we talk about the good old days that way. But as a result of that, they couldn't go on any further, and so we ended up representing our region in Prescott.
Oh.
And so it was a lot of fun, but it was kind of a bummer to have advanced in that fashion. Yeah. But boy, your heart just sank because there was the competitive nature. You really wanted to win, but boy, that just put everything in perspective when that happened, and you just kind of you really wanted to hope for the best for those guys, and they did. They pulled through. It it was a big deal then.
Yeah.
But everybody's great, and it's a good story, I guess. But you want to be able to do it on the field the way it should be done. So, but that was a lot of fun. And my dad, he's a financial clerk in their ward right now. They're still in the same ward, and they were cleaning out the clerk's office a month or two ago, I guess. And he found a 1985 softball that says 1985 champs, and all of our signatures on it. We all signed the ball, and he found it and gave it to me. And so it's kind of a neat.
It's something you want to put in a glass case.
Yeah, absolutely.
On a pedestal.
Absolutely. But really neat. And I was trying to remember, my memory, I don't know if it was because of the accident or what, but my memory is a little skewed or whatever, a little off kilter. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't remember what my jersey number was. And, as a dad, you kind of want to pass that along to your son and whatnot. But I thought it was number 12. But lo and behold, this ball shows up all these many years later, and right there is my signature with the number 12 on it. So,
good.
I was really glad that my memory wasn't
served
going
you
that
well.
bad yet.
Yes.
So, but it's a number's a number, but that's from the past, and it means a lot to me.
Yeah,
so.
Of course it does. Yeah. You're listening to Why Believe on the Mormon channel of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Our guest today is Kurt Bailey, who we've been visiting with, just getting to know you a little bit. And this all leads up to an important event in your life, an event that really changed your life, just out of high school. Talk about the accident that changed your life.
Well, Rick, it was the December of 1985. Mm-hmm. I had just graduated from high school and was completing my first semester at Mesa Community College. And it was the Saturday before finals. And the night before, there was a really nice snowstorm. Mm-hmm. And so this was going to be our opportunity to get out there and have some really nice snow. And here in Arizona, you don't really get that opportunity very often. So you kind of jump on that chance. And mm-hmm. I think carrying on a tradition that we had for quite some time, I maxed out my absences in high school during snow skiing season because my parents would pull me out of school a lot of Fridays mm-hmm. to go up there when it wasn't as crowded, and we'd go skiing. So in this scenario, though, it was a Saturday, and I probably should have been studying for finals, seeing as how finals week was coming up the next week. But of course, I used my better judgment, and we left and went skiing. And had a good time. It was typical day and having fun up there on the slopes. And that afternoon they opened a run that was closed most of the day, and they opened it to the skiers, and so we went down it. We went down it the first time, and we didn't see anything real bad about it. I mean, there wasn't anything revealed. There was a place. It was a drop off. It wasn't a sheer drop off, but it was, pretty steep. Mm-hmm. That you, if you wanted to, you could take your skis off and go down, or you just ski down it. Mm-hmm. Well, the first time we went down, we skied down it, and everything was fine. We didn't hit anything. We thought it was okay. So we went back up, and when I say we, it was a friend of mine and I were skiing on, and I can't even remember the name of the mountain, but it was one that my dad and my uncle, who were up there with us as well, they didn't like that one at all. So they were still skiing on Sunrise, the main mountain. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so we were on this hill, and we went down, didn't hit anything, came back up, wanted to go down again, but we didn't want to go down in our same tracks. Mm-hmm. Any good skier knows that. Yeah. So we moved over, and I went off, and I hit something underneath the snow. As it turns out later, it was a stump, because there were wood chips in my ski. Mm-hmm. And I hit the stump underneath the snow, and it threw me forward. I didn't go flying forward or flipping forward or anything like that, but it threw me forward, the momentum carried me forward, and I actually landed on my head and got a big knot on my head from it. But the angle of the impact was such that it was a compression fracture of my spine. And so I hit and it compressed, and then when I fell over, I rotated, and apparently that's what did the damage to my cord. And I knew something was wrong right away, because I was laying face down in the snow, but my feet felt like they were floating in the air like helium balloons. And so it was really kind of a strange sensation, strange feeling. And there were some other people that had kind of tagged along with us that were skiing with us, and they came up, and
you couldn't get yourself up out of the snow.
No. And really, I didn't want to try, because I knew enough
something was wrong.
That something was wrong, and if I was to try and do that, I didn't want to do more damage
Additional
than
damage. Yeah.
You know. So, you learn that in your scouting.
Right.
Going through the merit badges and different things like that, and the different training. But
don't move a person if there's that.
Yeah.
That. And we mentioned at the top of the program that this was a T4 injury, right?
Right. Yeah. So I'm paralyzed from my chest down. And so I was laying there in the snow, and all I had on was a sweatshirt, because it was still kind of warm, I guess, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
So I was laying there, and my sweatshirt was getting wet, and so I didn't know if the pain was from the injury or the cold. But I was laying there, and I knew something was wrong, but at the same time, the first thing that I said when the guy I was skiing with came up to me, I asked him where my sunglasses were, because they were these real expensive Varney sunglasses that I had just got for the season, and I had lost my ones from last season and all that kind of, just the dumbest question I could ask, I guess.
Well, that had to become of much less importance real quick.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they rushed up to me and were trying to help me out, and it was kind of funny too. I was laying face down, but they were trying to clear the snow away from my face. And but they had their gloves on still. So the one guy who was doing it, he was clearing it away from my face, but he kept brushing it over my ear, and he was actually packing snow in my ear. So I couldn't hear. So they're getting down in my face and yelling at me, trying to keep me awake and alert. And I'm saying, I'm okay. You're packing snow in my ear, Stop doing that and quit screaming in my face. But it was.
Did you go into shock or anything like that, or?
I don't know. I never lost consciousness.
Oh, okay.
And by the time it was, there were so many things about this that were just amazing. I said earlier that my dad and my uncle hated that mountain. They didn't like to ski on that mountain.
Yeah.
When my friend went down to go to the bottom of the hill to get on the lift to ski over to the other mountain to try and find my dad and my uncle, they were at the bottom of the hill,
ready to meet him.
Yeah. They didn't know anything about it. They were over there at the bottom of the hill,
was just
getting ready to ski on that hill. And so they came up, and the ski patrol actually missed my run, so I had to wait for them to come up. I think we had to wait about 20 minutes from what they were telling me. But when my dad and my uncle got there, they gave me a blessing, and in the blessing, they blessed me to be able to be calm, to be able to let the ski patrol do everything that they needed to do, and it worked. I mean, I was calm. I've never wavered in faith of our Savior or the priesthood authority, and priesthood blessings mean everything to me. And that one was the first of many. But it helped me calm down, let them do their thing. I mean, I was still in pain.
Yeah.
I don't remember if he said to have the pain go away. I kind of wish he did. He didn't. But it was just an amazing first step in many experiences on this journey, and it meant a lot coming from my dad.
Yeah.
So there you have it. I mean, I was there, but they took me off the hill, took me over to Springerville, which is a nearby little town, and the X-ray or the emergency doctor or technician who took the X-rays didn't see anything wrong. But my dad, with his experience
as
looking at X-rays as a dentist, teeth are a little different than your spine, your bones and everything. But he had experience there, and he noticed in a big way that there were some problems. He pointed them out to the technician, and once he did that, he saw, oh yeah, well, we need to do this, this, and this, and whatever. So that was a little unnerving.
But by then, Kurt, you had lost feeling.
Oh yeah,
down in your legs.
It was immediate.
Yeah,
it was immediate, and that it was the strange sensation. We talked a little bit before we started this interview. You had asked me if I had any phantom pains. I guess that might have been the closest thing, because I knew I mean nothing got severed as far as my body parts. But it was just so strange because I was laying in such an awkward position for it to feel like my feet would have been floating. So it was a little different, but I think it was just interesting to go through and feel the different feelings. It wasn't a progression per se, but just different types of pain, and maybe it was me thawing out, maybe it was the injury. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just kind of strange.
Kurt, what type of thoughts were going through your head just right after the accident? Were you thinking forward about, oh, this is life-changing, this, here's what I'm going to now not be able to do, here's what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be in a wheelchair? What type of thoughts were going through your head?
The immediate thoughts were, get me off this hill. The gravity of the injury didn't really set in until I was in the hospital, and maybe had my wits about me a little bit more. By the time I got down here to Good Samaritan, they had given me some morphine, and so that was kind of helping a little bit, just kind of dull the pain. And
how old were you when this happened?
I was 18. I as a matter of fact, I was 4 months away from, 3 months away from turning in my papers. My birthday's March 21st, so I was going to finish up a full year at MCC, and then put my availability date, after that semester, that spring semester. Yeah, and so that just kind of all. It didn't go out the window, but it kind of sat on the windowsill, trying to decide whether to jump or not.
Well, there were some big change of plans there, obviously, you had to make in your life.
And as I was laying in the hospital, just a day or two afterwards, that's kind of when things set in that this might be a little bit more of just a, hey, you're hurt, you'll get over it in a couple of weeks and be good.
Yeah.
And so at that point in time, that's when the thoughts start coming. Mission, is anybody going to date a guy in a wheelchair? And if they do date, are they going to want to marry? And if they do marry, are they going to want to have children? Am I going to be able to have children and be a father? It was just, the questions just started flowing from there. And it was scary.
Yeah. Two questions. First of all, what type of, did you feel discouraged? What type of battles within your thoughts, within your mind did you fight at that time?
On January 1st, the accident happened December 14th. January 1st, I was still in the hospital. Actually, I think by then they had just moved me into the rehabilitation. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and then I was in rehabilitation for 6. January 1st, they gave me a hall pass, so to speak, and let my parents take me home for the bowl games. And I got in that familiar environment, and I was in one of those big, bulky hospital wheelchairs. And I got in that environment with the plush carpet and weak arms from laying in the hospital all this time, not being able to do anything that I could do before. That was just a huge slap in the face. And that was when I got the lowest I ever got. We had it set up. When you're in a wheelchair, you want to lean back, adjust the weight so that you're not putting all the weight on your bum all the time. So you kind of transfer the weight. It's so you don't get pressure sores.
You need to move around.
Right.
Yeah, often.
So they had set up a deal for me up on the couch where I was still in my wheelchair, but I could lean back and kind of recline a little bit onto these pillows, or I think there was a box or something in there too. But anyway, I was in that position. I couldn't even get myself from the reclining position to the sitting position by myself just yet. I still was.
This was just 2 weeks after your accident.
Yeah, didn't really know what I was doing. I had a back brace on. I mean, it was the worst. And I just asked my mom if I could go and lay down on their bed, and I just sobbed. And it was very frustrating, and that's when the question came, why me? And I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but if anybody says that they have had some tragic accident or something happened in their life and they haven't asked why me, I think they might be telling a little fib there.
Yeah, it's something that it would enter into anybody's mind after an accident like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I asked my dad if he'd give me a blessing, and he asked if he could call President Garn, Daryl Garn, who is the stake president in the neighboring stake, and a really good friend of our family. And I said sure, and he came over and gave me a blessing, and it was just another reassurance of, hey, you know what? You'll be okay. You just got to make it through this stuff, learn what you need to be doing, and move forward. And it's that exercise of faith that was just it was lacking there for a while because of the human emotion that you experience. And but that was the lowest I ever got. I've never been that low since. And we're going on 26 years come this December. And don't get me wrong, there are times when I've maybe been able to reach out and touch that low. But it's never gotten that far. And I know it's because of my testimony of the Savior, and the fact that not only does the atonement atone for our sins or cover our sins, but it covers everything that we go through. And once you figure that out, boy, it sure, I don't want to use the word easier. It doesn't make your life easier necessarily, but it makes your life doable. And you can move forward. And maybe easier is the term, but there's still a lot of work involved.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing that. You're listening to Why I Believe on the Mormon channel of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Our guest today is Kurt Bailey, and we've just been talking about your skiing accident that really did change things in your life. What type of life experiences did you have after that? What type of changes did you need to set up in your life to go forward? And share the experience that you had with Elder Marion D. Hanks also as you get into that.
my life was turned upside down.
Mm-hmm.
My mom got her baby back. She got to take care of me, and
he was just 18 now.
Yeah, just a bigger baby. But it was great. She was fantastic. I mean, my mom and dad, they have always been supportive.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was the typical mom, earned my Eagle Scout for me. As a matter of fact, when I got my Eagle Scout and was pinning her award on her, I finally turned to her and I said, "Okay, now will you get off my back?" But anyway, it was all in good fun. She would go to the mat for anybody, but particularly when it comes to our family, mm-hmm. you don't want to cross her. She loves her family and will defend us to the nth degree. And she and my dad could have been very angry at what happened, because the run we were on, if they would have just taken the caterpillar down and groomed it, it would have exposed all that stuff, and we probably wouldn't have even been on that run.
Mm-hmm.
So having that kind of in the back of their mind and my mind, everybody's mind, it could have been pretty ugly, but it wasn't. Yeah. They just rallied. They were always positive, always upbeat, and I could tell my mom. I could tell that she was getting emotional, in certain times, but they really tried their hardest to be positive around me, and that's what helped carry me forward. Was their positive attitude and their willingness to do, whatever it took. I mean, there are limitations, mm-hmm. but they did it for me. I mean, it was great. And one of the things that they did for me, my mom made an arrangement for me to meet with Elder Hanks, mm-hmm. and he was actually the one who sealed them, who married them in the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And he was serving as a mission president in the neighboring mission to where my grandfather was serving, which is a whole other story there. It's how my mom and dad met, was over in England, and
oh, wow.
My mom was over there because my grandpa was mission president there, and my dad was one of his elders, one of his missionaries. So, but anyway, they arranged the meeting with Elder Hanks, and it was really neat to go there because we met at his house, and he was in jeans and a cardigan sweater, and I knew that in advance, so I was able to go casual too, and we were just able to talk and visit, because in my mind I was struggling trying to reconcile the fact that, okay, now I have this lifestyle, and how am I supposed to serve a mission?
Mm-hmm.
I know the opportunities there. I know that they allow people in wheelchairs to serve a mission, but I was really struggling with it. And when we visited, there was just such a calming spirit about our visit. And he just basically told me, "Kurt, the Lord's got other things in store for you. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And boy, I just...
Took a load off.
It took a huge load off.
Yeah.
And so I went, had that opportunity, went back home, came here to Arizona, back home, and visited with my bishop and shared with him this wonderful visit that I had with Elder Hanks. And he smiled at me, and then he asked me, "So when you want to get your papers ready for your mission?" And I looked at him and I thought, "Oh, Bishop, I just had this wonderful experience with Elder Hanks, and I feel like I need to move forward the way I'm going now, and I don't know that a mission, at least in the immediate future, is going to happen."
Mm-hmm.
And so we finished our visit, and it was kind of discouraging, but now that I look back on it, being a bishop myself now,
mm-hmm.
that experience taught me to listen. And I love my bishop, but I needed him to listen
mm-hmm.
at that point in time, so I learned from that, and I feel very blessed to have had that experience because hopefully that'll help me as I move forward in my current position.
Yeah.
But it was just meeting with Elder Hanks made such a difference in my life and helped me almost get a turbo boost as I was moving forward. And that was really special to me because that burden was lifted.
Yeah.
I didn't rule a mission out, but I knew that I had the time that I needed to be able to get used to my new life as a 4'5" guy instead of a 6' guy.
Well, you had talked to me earlier about the role that Institute played in your life as you went forward, because as you said, you needed to go forward. And so you got back into school, you went into Institute, you had a social life, and so on and so forth. Talk about what you did there.
Institute was awesome. Still is. Haven't been there for a while, but my daughter is going right now and experiencing the same stuff we did. But Institute it's such a blessing in a person's life, and I took advantage of that blessing and met some great people. I had some friends of mine who went and served missions, but a couple of them had to come back for medical issues. And one of my really good friends, his name happens to be Kurt. We've been friends since 5th grade. And he and I, there was one semester in particular where we had all the same classes together, including Institute. And so he and I, we spent a ton of time together, and as it turns out, we kind of made the Institute social scene what it was for a time, because for whatever reason, after my accident, my dad would let us take the boat for lake trips. And I'm kind of sitting there thinking, okay, well, your own son can't really do much of anything now as it pertains to the boat, but you trust Kurt Richardson with the boat, which was fine with me. I mean, that made me happy. But we would go down there and we would just round up some people and see who wanted to go to the lake, and we would have those experiences. But we built friendships there, and so as we were attending those classes, and it wasn't all fun and games. It was a great place to go and play pool and play basketball and ping pong and all that kind of stuff, and the teachers were great. But as we attended those classes, we had those friendships built, and we could feed off of each other. And it was really kind of neat. Lund Johnson was just a fantastic teacher there. I mean, they were all fantastic, but we took, I think, 3 or 4 classes from him in a row. And it was just a great experience, a great opportunity to learn at his feet and to feel the Spirit so strongly there. And as we continued to attend there were several of the moms that lived in my ward there that if I didn't know any better, I think my mom probably sent them there to spy on me, make sure I was doing okay. But they were just great ladies, and they took care of me, and I took care of them. I mean, it was a fun dynamic there, because anymore I don't think the adults are able to attend the classes with the actual students who are attending the college. But the dynamic there and the experience that they brought to the table was just fantastic, and I missed that. I think as we were attending and taking those classes, it was a no-brainer when we were signing up for our academic side of things that we would leave a slot open for Institute. And kind of one of the interesting things as part of our social scene, so to speak, there was one time where we were just rounding people up. We were actually wanting to go up to our family cabin, and we were just rounding people up. We were in the foyer as people were coming in and going out, and I asked this one girl who I thought was really cute, but I didn't know her that well, and I asked her if she wanted to go, and I think she was with her cousin or somebody, anyway, she was walking with her, and she respectfully declined and kind of went on. It was very passing. Well, as it turned out, I don't know if I saw her again. If I did, it again was in passing. But she ended up going up to BYU. Well, the whole time she was at BYU, her mom and her aunt were actually in our institute classes with Lon Johnson, and so when she came back from BYU, I had actually been hanging out with her friends, unbeknownst to me. I didn't know that they were friends with her, and we met up again. I was actually doing PA announcing for the MCC basketball team, and so we would go to those games, and I'd be doing my job. It wasn't a job; it was a blast. And she'd be there with her friends, and we ended up going. We went on our first date January 5th and got married July 28th
of that next year after your accident.
Oh no! This would have been in '89.
Oh, okay. So
we kind of jumped forward a little bit, yeah. But it was, and as a matter of fact, it was kind of interesting because I had actually, I guess you can't say met her, but we were in the same place back in 1987 when ASU played Michigan in the Rose Bowl. Some friends of mine and we did a road trip. This was after my accident. We did a road trip over to Pasadena for the game, and it just so happened that she was in the opposite end zone as us at the same game. So for whatever that's worth, I didn't have my binoculars and say, "Hey, she's the one." We didn't get that thump on the head, but it was kind of funny to be talking about that.
It's interesting though that her mother and her aunt were in your institute class, so they probably gave her the thumbs up when everything started happening as far as a relationship between the two of you.
Yeah, I had them. I mean, that was
you won them over.
No problem there. Yeah. It was just I had to win her over.
Yeah.
So, but it was good, and just kind of and she kind of denies that chance meeting in the foyer that one day. So obviously I didn't make nearly as much of an impression on her that she did.
She made on you.
But it was just a lot of fun. Those were some good times, and we, as a matter of fact, we were running late one day, headed over to Institute, and it wasn't with Kurt. It may have even been another semester, but a friend of mine named Brent, he was going to school there at MCC, and we were running late to Institute. And the way it's situated at MCC, you've got the big campus, and across Dobson Road, which is a main road, across Dobson Road is the Institute, but there's a light there. So as you're going and you just go up to the light, press the button, and eventually it'll turn red, so we can go. Well, we were scooting along, and he actually had thrown his books on my lap and was pushing me along behind me, and he hadn't had much experience in that area, and so we were cruising, and the walk sign turned to the blinking sign, and we still had a fair distance to go, but we were going for it, and all these cars are stopped, waiting for us to cross, and so we're booking it across the crosswalk, and I had all those books on top of me. And what you have to do, if you think about a curb or a driveway, there's that inch tall, it's not flat going from the
right, there's a little bump right at the beginning of it.
Well, we were cruising, and I couldn't get my arms down far enough or fast enough to pop my front wheels up over it.
Oh no.
And so they hit, and books went flying. I went sliding off the chair and ended up sitting down kind of on my feet. So I didn't go flying, but I went far enough that I was all the way off the seat. Well, Brent's he's a big boy. He was a lineman at Westwood, and he just reached over and reached up under my arms, and with one arm lifted me back up on the chair. Well, my pocket caught on the chair, and so it ripped my shorts. So the whole rest of the day, fortunately I was in my chair, and not walking around, because I was sitting on my shorts that would have revealed everything as we were going through the rest of the day. And the sad part about it is all those cars were stopped at the red light watching Brent do this.
Oh, really?
And he was so embarrassed. He felt so bad that he had ejected me, and the books went flying and everything. And
well, he just didn't know that those front wheels were going to topple you right out of the chair.
No, it was pretty sad for him, but I was dying laughing because you've got to have a sense of humor with this, because otherwise there's just too much to get you down.
Yeah.
And so that was crazy, and I felt so bad for him, but hopefully, and I know that because I was laughing, he got over it. And Brent's the kind of guy that can get over that kind of stuff real easy anyway. But it was just, I did feel bad for him, so all those cars were just watching. We should have charged admission, like a drive-in or something. There you go. But anyway, those were good experiences.
Oh, that's great. You're listening to Why I Believe on the Mormon channel of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And today we're visiting with Kurt Bailey, who lives here in Mesa, Arizona, and talking about his experiences being in a wheelchair after an accident skiing in the White Mountains of Arizona. Kurt, you are currently a bishop. And so you are in a position where, like you had mentioned earlier, you have to listen. People come in to talk to you, and they expect to receive some counsel from you. What type of things do you take from the accident that changed your life, and the atonement and the triumph, that you experience as you overcome challenges? What type of things do you take from that experience in your life that you turn around and you counsel people and share with them?
I think the biggest thing, Rick, is patience. And I know my family will just laugh when they hear that coming from my mouth, because sometimes you just kind of, I feel like we need to just kind of move on. No, let's not dwell on this, and move on. And the things that we can't change, you just need to have patience to know that they'll change eventually, or things will happen to you eventually that it won't make as much difference. Mm-hmm. And so patience is huge. Tolerance is another biggie. There are times in my life when, for instance, I coached my children in Little League. Mm-hmm. Every year that came around, every spring, was a frustrating time for me, because I couldn't fully do the physical part of it, mm-hmm. To teach them the things that I have in my noggin that need to be translated to, how your stance is, how you're throwing the ball, just basic stuff like that. It was frustrating for me. Mm-hmm. So, I guess there's the patience factor again, but tolerance is a good cousin to it, I guess, because you have to tolerate the limitations that are there and work around them.
Mm-hmm. It's impressive that you would jump into coaching a baseball team.
You know what?
From a wheelchair.
That's
incredible.
It was a huge desire of my heart. I have a really good friend of our family who he and I coached our boys from coach pitch on up, and I love him to death because he has just done so much for me, so much for my son, and really so much for my family. He's a wonderful example to me, and he helped me do something that I wanted to do very badly, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And I know there's probably not a whole lot of eternal ramifications about my children playing baseball, but there is in the lessons that are learned there. Mm-hmm. And I see that. I see that all the time, whether I'm coaching or not. There's just a lot of good that came from that, and I'm grateful for that. But as I'm talking with people and counseling with them, the listening aspect has been key, and I dare say that's probably the most important thing, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I would think that it might be in theirs as well, mm-hmm. just because they aren't really coming to me for. I mean, the main thing they're coming for me for is to listen. Mm. Somebody who can listen to them, to help them, either with counsel regarding choices that are being made, or helping them get back on the path. Mm-hmm. If you don't listen, the Spirit's not going to be able to talk to you.
Yeah.
So,
do you ever find the experience that as you're listening to them talk, that they're kind of figuring things out on their own of what they need to do?
Yes.
Does that happens?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy that part. It makes me, it reaffirms my testimony of the fact that if you are speaking with the Spirit and listening with the Spirit, the communication's there. And not only is the communication going to be there between the two people who are physically communicating right at that point in time, mm-hmm. but the communication is going to be there from the Lord, mm-hmm. and the direction's going to come. Whether that direction comes through my voice or through their voice, it's coming from the Lord. Mm. And so it's a neat opportunity to be a part of that.
That's great. So. Well, Kurt, it's been wonderful to have you on Why I Believe today, and congratulations on your family. You have 3 wonderful kids. And you're a bishop, and you're working hard in the community. You've got a business that you run. That's wonderful, and just want to extend that appreciation to you, and that congratulations to you. As we close out our program today on Why I Believe, would you mind just sharing a little bit about your feelings about the gospel, the role the gospel has played in your life? Especially in relation to the challenges that you've overcome and endured in your life.
Sure. One of the things that happened in the hospital, or actually in the rehab facility, is there were 2 patients that were there whose families just abandoned them because they were going to be too much work. That just blew me away, because I see the family that I have and the strength that they have given me, both physically going through this and spiritually. I mean, my dad, I love my dad. He has been a wonderful patriarch in our family. And excuse me. We have developed a great relationship. We had a good relationship before, but this has brought us closer. And as a matter of fact, we were brought even closer because he was in a motorcycle accident, and the house was already set up for him to be able to do what he needed to do to get around and to rehab himself. So he blazed a trail for me in the early years, and I kind of got to blaze a bit of a trail for him. But our relationship has become very close, and they both, my dad and mom, have just helped me immensely, growing my testimony. I kind of feel Nephi-like, having goodly parents, because the gospel and the testimony that I have of my Savior has played just a huge role in my life. Knowing that He loves me regardless of the faults that I have, knowing that my Heavenly Father loves me regardless of the faults that I have, understanding the wonderful gift that my Savior gave to me, like I stated before, not only for the sins, but for the grief and the pain that I've gone through, has truly been a blessing in my life. I hope that my family is able to feel the love that is there for the Savior, for my Heavenly Father, for the gospel, the wonderful direction that it gives us in our lives, for the Book of Mormon, for that wonderful prophet Joseph who restored the gospel on this earth and went through so many trials. The Lord knew that he had a chosen person there, knew that he could handle it. We had the opportunity to go to Palmyra to visit my mother and father-in-law who were serving a mission there. And my kids got to stay with them in their apartment and got to go into the grove every morning, sometimes on their own, and feel the spirit that was there. I know that Joseph Smith saw what he said he saw. And that meaning in my life has just carried me through trial after trial. I am so grateful for a modern prophet today in President Monson. I'm grateful for him for the vision of the rescue. For that is what's needed right now. Not only for those who are straying far off the path, but for those who are withstanding the buffetings of the adversary each and every day. We all need help. We all need that rescue. And for me, the gospel has been my rescue thus far in my life, and I know it will be as we continue down this path.
Well, Kurt, thank you. Thank you so much for being part of Why I Believe today. I know your story will be an inspiration to many.
You're welcome,
and your
Rick.
testimony.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Why I Believe on the Mormon channel of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Please join us every Tuesday at 1 o'clock to listen to new episodes, or you can download all of our episodes on mormonchannel.org. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.